You know, it's hard to feel emotionally attached to a lot of things these days because we live in a current streaming industry which sucks. It sucks. It's awful. And they keep cancelling shows. It's a very notable, very obvious problem that people have been having. I had my brother Snapchat me about a show he was watching on Netflix with Jeff Goldblum, and he's like, "Oh, finally diving into this." I'm like, "Oh, you realize that was cancelled, right?" And he's like, "It was." I'm like, "Yeah, like either nobody watched it or it didn't get enough views because it didn't get enough time to grow an audience, and hence they cancelled it." But we're not here to talk about a Jeff Goldblum show because honestly, what has he done in life that's of interest outside of just existing? Anyway, we're talking about Scavengers Reign. I talked about Scavengers Reign last year, I think, or I didn't. I remember I did a video, I think I did a video talking about my favorite TV shows from last year, and that was my favorite TV show of last year, but I never released that video. So, this was my favorite TV show that came out last year. I binged it all on Binge, the Australian streaming service, basically because I had like a month for free on it, so I figured, look, alright, I'll watch it. You know, my mate was like, it's really good. The season finale was coming out because it was actually coming out weekly. And I binged it over about 3 days, and just because I wanted to have breaks in between. And it was beautiful. It's visually an animation style that you don't see very often now. It's obviously still like digital animation or whatever, but it's just not like CGI animation. It still looks like 2D digital, and it looks fantastic. It's basically a ship's crew crash on a planet. I think they crashed on a planet. I should reread it. The crew of a damaged deep space freighter are stranded on a beautiful but dangerous planet. It's a very easy way to phrase it, and that's very true. And they get split up into different areas. Some people die, some people survive, and you watch as they all try to survive on their own whilst all trying to find a way off the planet or trying to call for help, basically. And it at first feels very random because they were just like intercut with different people at different times, and it feels like there's like each episode, which was like maybe, say it's a 15-minute episode, you have a 3-minute section or 3 to 5 minute sections for each character between episodes, and as it built along, it would gradually intertwine the characters, and you get flashbacks to understanding their perspectives and understanding how they got there. Eventually, they would kind of all merge to some degree, but sometimes in earlier episodes, sometimes in later. Not the terrible Stranger Things narrative where you split everyone else up and then you put them together in the last episode. But they do, a lot of people do connect by the last episode, and you get this big revelation and stuff, whatever. Classic story, whatever. It works great as a solo season, realistically. But also the creator of the show recently, I think it was on Twitter, I don't go on that anymore, but he went on that and was basically saying, hey, I gotta be honest, show's being cancelled, they don't want to pick it up for a second season. We'd already animated basically a teaser trailer, a concept trailer for season 2, which obviously when they posted that, everyone was like, why? Why would this looks amazing? Why would you take this away from us? But that's just what TV is like now, and it's one of the big reasons I don't watch most TV. I have much more interest in watching stuff that has come out over the past 70 years, I don't know. Like I spent 8 months watching The Shield because my mate was like, you gotta watch The Shield. So I bought the Blu-ray set, and I just took my time and I enjoyed it, and I love The Shield. It is fantastic, and I will rewatch it. I like something like The Sopranos, something like Mad Men, shows that my mate got me onto that I never watched when they initially came out, either because I was too young or just wouldn't have understood it. Like I wouldn't have understood Sopranos or Mad Men when I was growing up, because it came out 2007 onwards, so I was a kid. I wouldn't have understood it, And like I've even watched stuff like Breaking Bad, which I was watching that as it was ending, but then I still have watched it a couple more times since then, and I've grown more and more of an appreciation for it because of my understanding of how the world works, of how media literacy works, all that kind of stuff. It worked together quite well. And it's really fun, watching shows that have, long amounts of episodes. Like my parents are currently rewatching The Good Wife because they're subscribed to Stan, I think it is, only because Mum wanted to watch one film. And hey, look, The Good Wife's on it. Let's binge The Good Wife, you know? And it's taken them a bit to get through it because they're like 20-odd episode seasons. Holy shit, imagine that. And the same people who did that, Robert and Sarah King, I believe it was, they worked on a show called Evil, which recently finished this year after its 4-season run. And I loved Evil. That's another show that I've absolutely loved over the past couple of years that, lo and behold, my older brother, had been binging it, and I was, because before he moved out, what is now my room is next to the bathroom, and I was like, I think I was brushing my teeth one night, about to go to bed, and I heard the theme, and I'm thinking, what's going on? Why am I hearing the theme to Evil? I love the theme to Evil. I'm thinking, how am I hearing this? Walk into his room, he's watching the penultimate episode. He thought it was the last episode, which was very funny, because he was wrong. But I was able to be like, actually, it's the second last episode. The next episode airs on Friday. If you want to, we can watch it together, because he was going to be here and I was going to be here as well because I had Friday off, and I think he had Friday off. I can't remember what the deal was at the time, but we both had the day off and could watch it in here on my screen and whatever. And it was great, you know, because he was watching the show, loving the evil concepts, but hating how they never resolved any of the stories, and he was waiting for at least some kind of resolution. And I'm like, well, the show's not about the individual resolutions. It's like watching X-Files, and half of the mysteries don't get solved, because that's what makes it more interesting. In this case, you want that big, like, story arc of they gotta defeat Leland. You know, say, like, if it was the X-Files, we gotta find this Mulder's sister, or expose the government for harboring aliens, or whatever. I don't think they do either of those. They do technically resolve the sister storyline, but, you know, whoop-de-fucking-do. But it's that kind of thing. And so it's one of those things. If you like X-Files, Evil's great. It's a very similar religious-themed version of Angels and Demons and whatever. It's beautiful. It's funny. It's sexy. It's horrifying. It's got some great costuming and some great makeup effects. The demons look fantastic. The cast is amazing. It's a great show, which is also finished. But that was a show where I would wait for the season to come out, wait for a couple of episodes, and then subscribe to whatever streaming service it was on, because initially I think it was Amazon, and then it moved to a different service. I can't remember. I think it's on Netflix now, because I can't remember. There's so many goddamn streaming services. But either way, I think it was Paramount. It became a Paramount show in the end, because they didn't have a streaming service initially, and then they created one, so the first 2 seasons were on some streaming service, either Stan or Prime, and then eventually it became Paramount Plus, whatever. So that's how I deal with streaming services, where I will, like, wait for a couple episodes to come out, because I prefer shows that go weekly anyway, and then I'll subscribe, and then jump in and, like, binge a couple episodes, and then watch the rest as they air. It's cheaper that way. I do that for Apple TV+. They have For All Mankind, another fantastic show, which, you know, you get a new season once every 2 years, basically, and I will wait for a couple episodes to come out, but because my mate loves it as much as I do, he will start messaging me about it. I'm like, alright, I'll subscribe again to the goddamn streaming platform, and then just wait the 10 weeks until it's done and pay all those 10 weeks worth of stuff. My only criticism with something like Apple is that they don't have much on their actual platform. It's mostly originals, and then you can rent stuff. So keep that in mind. But I wholeheartedly recommend it. If you've never watched anything on Apple TV+, that and Severance, fantastic. There's some good documentaries on it, some interesting fun movies. Most of the original content that they have, is good. But that's also a key word, content. Don't we love the word content? Because, yeah, that's what TV is now. It's not even TV, obviously. It's streaming. It's still watched on a TV or a laptop or an iPhone, or just a smartphone in general, or a tablet or a laptop. What did I mention? Laptops, computers, desktops, random projectors at bars. I don't know. It's tiresome. You have a show that's like Young Sheldon or The Rookie. I know The Rookie is on Netflix, but I believe it's Netflix in Australia, or like they have distribution rights internationally on Netflix, but it's like an actual like network TV show in America. Same as, like, you know, Young Sheldon was a show that I believe has finished. I know The Rookie hasn't because it's still going, but it surprises me that those shows are still going. Not just are they still going, which is not a bad thing. They have their audiences, whatever. But that there's so many seasons in. Like, you look at some of the NCIS shows and whatever, and those kind of network TV shows, and you've heard that it's come out, and then, like, you blink and bam, there are 6 seasons, and you're like, what happened? Has it ended yet? It still hasn't ended, you know? So there's a weird kind of dichotomy where you'll have shows put straight onto streaming that'll get a season, maybe 2, and unless they get immensely hate-watched, like Emily in Paris, they won't continue, and then they'll get cancelled after a season or 2. I know Velma, that was cancelled after season 2, but that's because they had booked it for 2 seasons. They had the episode count, and they were able to do one batch of episodes, season 1, and another batch, season 2. Because sometimes that's what they do with especially animated shows. You take Futurama, its latest 2 seasons, was a block of episodes that they were able to record and write all together, and then animate the first half, and then animate the second half. So hence, the first half came out, last year, and then the second half has come out this year. I haven't watched the second half. I hated the first half. I love that show, and I'm never going to watch a new episode again, because, honestly, I couldn't stomach it. Week by week, I'm just like, this is awful. It looks bad. It sounds bad. It's written bad. There was, 2 or 3 good episodes, and I did a whole video on it, and it's just like, nope, I don't want this. I'm not watching that shit anymore. So, I'm like, I'm good. I have 7, 8 seasons of good TV. You know, the first 4, masterpiece. The TV movies, love it. I don't count them as seasons. I count them as TV movies because we got them as DVD movies when we grew up. And then you get the Comedy Network. Comedy Central, is it? I don't know. Whoever picked it up after the fact. I don't mind those seasons. They get worse as it goes along, but it has some great finales and some good one-off episodes every once in a while. But nevertheless, it's just one of those things where I just don't care to watch most modern TV shows now because they're bound to get cancelled immediately. Especially if they're on a streaming platform. I have to put in the time and dedication, and we all know I love movies, modern TV shows, but there are some fantastic TV shows that I either haven't watched or I have, and it's just I just don't always have the time to just rewatch them. You know, I could if I was that specific. If I was on the spectrum, for example, I have a friend who is, and he has a very particular mindset of, I will watch 1 episode of this a day, every single day until it ends, but I'll also double feature it with an episode of this a day. And I'm like, and these are on discs. He's not even streaming this shit. I'm like, how are you going from putting 1 disc on for 1 episode, taking it out, putting on a second disc for 1 episode, and then jumping onto a CRT to stream Star Trek on Netflix? Because, for some reason, Netflix has bloody Star Trek Voyager in 4x3. Either way, he watches that stuff on a CRT now. It's crazy. Dedication. Very autistic. Not a problem, of course. Just notable. But that's the thing. I don't have that. I need to binge a couple episodes. The Shield, I was binging at least 2 a night. You know? And as it went along, I'm like, okay, I need to take breaks between seasons. I was taking a month or 2 break between seasons just because I could, you know? And I did the same thing with Mad Men. I bundled the first 3 seasons and then stopped for 2-3 months and then continued the rest and just kept binging after that. Sopranos, I was kind of in a similar mindset, but sometimes it's just so good, it's like an addiction. You just want to keep watching it. And I'm not sitting here lumbering for hours on end just watching the same goddamn thing, because I'll watch an episode or 2, turn it off, put on a movie. You know, or maybe watch a movie or 2 and then watch an episode. Or if at the time my brother and his partner were over, you know, if they wanted to use the theater room, I'd know that they'd be going to bed by 9 o'clock because they had to get up at 5. So I could just chuck on my headphones, put on an episode of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, and it was great because I could just sit in here for an hour, maybe 2, maybe watch 2 episodes. They're all really pushing my fucking luck. Anyway, we're obviously still here to complain about how streaming services suck, and they do. I still subscribe to a couple. I don't think I'm paying for anything except for the Criterion channel, which I now remember I need to watch something else or I need to pause my subscription because I like to watch a couple of things because it's $18 a month. Hooray for USD conversions. It sucks. But they have such a great range on the Criterion channel. It's the only thing I would actually recommend subscribing to. My parents, because I still live with them, of course, they have Netflix. So if I ever need Netflix, they have it. Something like Scott Pilgrim was that. They had that show, I can't remember what it was called, Level Up or something. It doesn't matter. They had that on Netflix, binged that in the course of a day. And I loved it, but I'm also like, I need to rewatch it. I also want to rewatch all the anime cast, the Japanese cast. I would also like a physical release of some of these shows, for the love of God. I think Severance is getting one. For All Mankind, the first 2 seasons have a Blu-ray, but the show was shot in 4K. Bring it out in 4K. It looks stunning. Especially if you got a 4K of OLED. It looks so fucking good, because half the time they're in space. And it looks so goddamn nice. So, shows like that need physical to also survive. I know Stranger Things initially had physical media releases, which are now exceptionally out of print and exceptionally rare because they only did like the first 2 seasons. Mostly because it took so many years between seasons. Ha 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 ha. But that's also a thing. If you're a fan of that show, you have to put up with the fact that it takes years between episodes. Basically, except not in the fun way. Not in the Mr. Bean way of you think that there's like 50 episodes of that show, but there's actually like 10. It just took them 30 years to make 10 episodes. And you're like, how do you do that? Like, I grew up with the DVD set. And it's not even complete anymore. They actually did an episode in the 2000s, and of course the movies as well. And I'm like, I don't even have a complete set for Mr. Bean? How is that possible? Fawlty Towers, it's like 8 episodes for the whole show. And again, that wasn't done over the course of 1 year. It was probably done over the course of a couple. Man, British TV is crazy. I don't know how they do that, but like that's something we got to deal with if you watch it with Stranger Things. I don't. I stopped watching during season 3. I don't give a shit about that show. My parents like it because they have Netflix. They watch whatever the hell's on it, and they had binged the whole thing. And it got to the stage where they were binging the most recent season, and they were struggling for that because of how long the episodes were. And I've even heard the newer season is like, oh, it's like 8 movie-length episodes. I'm like, just make a TV show. What the fuck are you doing? They're being so advantageous of the streaming platform that they're just making hour-and-a-half long episodes, which is stupid. Network TV shows would only do that if they did a double episode, if it was written that way, part 1 and part 2, or they had a big finale, a big juicy finale. Take The Shield, take Doctor Who, their finales would be 2 to 3 episodes long. Or at least, like, The Shield would be, like, instead of a 50-minute episode, it would be an hour and 10-minute long episode. Sometimes that would just be because they had this extra narrative part that they needed to round up so they could move it on, so they didn't have to do it in the next season. And they would just make the episode longer because of that, because, fuck it, why not? TV shows used to have double episodes within the seasons, like Mad Men's last couple seasons had 2-parters at the start of each season. If you stream it, it makes it one whole episode, but if you've got the Blu-rays like I do, it's 2 different episodes. Doctor Who used to do that. They would have 2-parters. They don't do that anymore. Doctor Who is like 8 episodes. What the fuck is that? Disgusting. I hate it. Either don't give it to me, or give me a longer version of it. How hard is it? Make it 13 episodes. I want to actually know who these characters are and understand them and enjoy them and relate to them, but knowing I have this deadline of, we'll be in the season finale in 3 episodes, and that's a 2-parter. And I'm like, but we're only on episode 4. It's just, I don't have enough time to relate to these characters. And you'd think, well, you actually have like 6 hours at least. I'm like, no, I really don't. Because you have the rest of the fucking narratives. There's no in-between. At least 2 of the episodes, maybe 3, for that new season of Doctor Who were like end-of-the-world episodes. I'm like, fuck you, I don't care about this stuff. Are these people going to die? No, they're not. What does it matter? So, we all obviously have our individual criticisms as to whether or not TV is surviving or dying or not. And given, a lot of people don't watch network TV anymore, and if they do, it's reality TV. It's something so dumb but consumable, but really easy to make. Obviously, something that writer strikes can get around by just getting a bunch of lowlives, chucking them into a big expensive house, and telling them all to fuck each other, or stab each other in the back. And that would work really well if it was scripted, but instead they're just a bunch of idiots. And it's not fun. I don't think it's fun anyway. Like, people find that to be entertaining because it's entertainment. Me, I'm like, I don't know, throw an innocent guy into a ring with a lion and give them a sword and a shield. Maybe that's entertainment. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. They should start doing that. Except they wouldn't, because they wouldn't. For a lot of different reasons. But yeah. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on how the fragging how you're coping with these TV stuff. Do you care to actually watch a brand new show, whether you're binging it or, watching it week by week? And do you have a preferred method? I prefer week by week. It just makes me interested in the show for longer. Easy as that. The one benefit of something like Game of Thrones or Succession was weekly stuff. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. Do you still watch network television? Of course, HBO does count, even though they have their streaming platform. And I've heard that The Penguin's out, but guess what? I haven't watched it because I'm not subscribed to Binge. I don't know. Maybe I will one day. I don't really care. I don't know. A lot of questions. Give me some answers. Should these shows be released on physical? Give me Scavengers Reign on 4K, and I'll be happy. Then I can rewatch it endlessly, and I don't have to resubscribe to Binge, because I don't want to resubscribe to Binge. Otherwise, if anyone knows a great place, not to pirate it, but maybe just to buy a bootleg Blu-ray, maybe I'll do that. Shit, maybe I gotta start bootlegging again. I gotta start bootlegging, full stop. I have never done it before. I haven't done it before, for legal reasons. Bye.